Many are familiar with this famous passage from the Talmud. A person comes to convert to Judaism and requests that Hillel teach him the entire Torah on one foot. The answer that Hillel gives is equally famous. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. The rest is commentary. Now go and learn. From this story we understand the centrality of kindness and treating people respectfully. Those are central values in Judaism. We learn that it's important to be welcoming. But there's more to this story. How does Hillel conclude his response to the convert? Go and learn. Hillel does not say, remember the great ideal, and then you don't need to know anything else. Hillel tells this person who is looking to grow into Judaism that yes, there is an overarching principle, but there is more, so go and learn. Rashi explains that in order to know what is hateful to you, you have to learn. In other words, you can't even get to the first part of Hillel's statement without first discovering the second part. You can't achieve the principle without the learning. There is a related point made by Nachmanides, the Ramban, in his commentary to the Torah portion of Vayakhel, which is read in Shul this coming weekend. Vayakhel begins by reminding us not to work on Shabbat. And the third verse in the Parsha specifies a particular kind of activity that is forbidden. Lo teva'aru eish bechol moshvotechem beyom haShabbat. Do not kindle fire on Shabbat. Now there are many prohibited activities on Shabbat. It's a whole list. Why does the Torah here single out lighting a fire? So here is Ramban's explanation. That the reason that prohibition is singled out here is because fire, activities related to fire, were not prohibited until this time. When the Ten Commandments were given at Sinai, nobody knew that there was a prohibition against kindling fire. God knew when commanding Shabbat that if the people were not allowed to have fire for light, for joy, for comfort, this would be really hard for them to give up. Harder than the other prohibitions. Think about it. It's not so hard not to trap, not so hard not to sow, not so hard to not build for one day of the week. But for God to ask the Israelites, at the same time He gives them the Torah, you also can't have heat at night in the desert. You also can't have light in the darkness. That's much more difficult. Maybe the people would have said, we can't observe this. It's just too much for us. And so God held off a little while before introducing this extra prohibition. God let the Jews get comfortable with the other laws before springing this one on them. God understood that observance is a process and that changing your routine takes time, and that some things are harder to give up than others. And this, I think, is at the root of what Hillel was trying to say to the convert. Our ancestors in the desert, they were like converts to Judaism. And so, just like converts, they had to undergo a journey in order to reach their end goal, with the recognition that it takes time to get to where you're going in life, and that not everything can be done at once. And God's response to our ancestors in waiting before giving them the law against kindling fire is the same response that Hillel gave to the convert. Start with the basics, and slowly and surely keep learning, keep growing, keep improving. What is true for those new to Judaism is just as true for many of us who are trying to grow in our Judaism. Growth can be gradual, but it must be continual. So it is not important what you know now, and it is not important what you don't know now. It's not important what you do now or what you don't do now. Don't let those points get you down. Judaism thinks it's much more important to ask, what might you learn tomorrow? What might you know tomorrow? What might you do tomorrow? And as long as there's more than what you've done today, you're on track. Wishing you all Shabbat Shalom.